Hello everyone! For today's review, I've decided to tackle the 1948 gangster thriller Key Largo. This film, directed by John Huston, stars Humphrey Bogart, Edward G. Robinson, and Lauren Bacall, with Lionel Barrymore and Claire Trevor. The setting, Key Largo, is the largest island in the Florida Keys, connected to the mainland by one long stretch of road. Bogart plays a former Army major who stops by the Largo Hotel to pay a visit to the father and widow of a man he knew in the war. Though the hotel is closed for the summer, he finds it occupied by a group of shifty, unsavory individuals. Something's up, and that something is Johnny Rocco, a notorious gangster hiding out at the hotel. And as a hurricane brews outside, the hotel's inhabitants find themselves in an increasingly dangerous situation. This one is an excellent blending of genres. It's a gangster crime drama and a natural disaster movie. Plus, it's an isolation thriller, featuring a cast of characters trapped in one place. For real-life couple Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, this was the last film they starred in together. They had met on the set of To Have and Have Not just a few years earlier, gotten married, and made a total of 4 films. Their characters share some tender moments here, but it's not their zestiest pairing. If you want to see the legendary sparks fly, watch 1944's To Have and Have Not, or their second movie, 1946's The Big Sleep, where they exchange meaningful looks and innuendo. And if you want to round it out, watch 1947's Dark Passage as well. It doesn't get as much attention as these other 3 in the Bogey and Bacall collection, but it's also a very good movie. I always liked that in Key Largo, Bogart and Bacall wear coordinating outfits. At least they seem to match. Their shirts could be 2 different colors for all I can tell, but they appear white, and that, plus the belts and the hands in pockets, makes for a cute picture. Not so cute is our first glimpse of Edward G. Robinson, shown soaking in a bathtub with a cigar and a newspaper, a drink on the side, and a fan pointed directly at his face. Robinson had been playing gangsters on screen since 1931, when he shot his way to stardom as Rico in Little Caesar. His gangster credits are numerous, as are Humphrey Bogart's, but in those days Robinson was getting top billing, while Bogart was playing a henchman or an antagonist trying to unseat the boss. If it weren't for The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca changing his image, these might have been the roles Bogart was most remembered for. They appeared together in 4 gangster films prior to this one: Bullets or Ballots, Kid Galahad, The Amazing Dr. Clitterhouse, and Brother Orchid. In reality, Robinson, a peace-loving art collector who was nothing like his screen persona, was glad when the movie-going public's fascination with gangsters, mobsters, and the mafia began to peter out. He embraced any role he was given that was different, and while studios often ignored his potential, he gave excellent leading and supporting performances in a variety of genres. The part of Johnny Rocco marked Robinson's return to the criminal underworld after a brief hiatus, and he gives one of his best bad guy performances. It's a role he was uniquely suited for, as he had played exactly the kind of man Rocco was in his prime. Johnny Rocco, we learn, is an exile. He's flanked by flunkies who do his bidding, but he's also a has-been, a public enemy of yesteryear. The glory days of Prohibition are so far behind him that his youngest goon doesn't even know how powerful he used to be. And here he is in Key Largo, hiding in his hotel room and itching to regain his former status with a vengeance. Robinson sinks his teeth into the part of the furious, frustrated egotist. Rocco can be charming when he wants to be, but he's never quite as charming as he thinks he is. He's arrogant, intense, perhaps a bit maniacal. I'm always impressed by the scene where he monologues while getting a shave. He just talks and talks, ranting about how much control he used to wield, while one of his guys works the straight razor over the nooks and crannies on his face. I don't like shaving scenes in movies when they involve a straight razor. They make me so uncomfortable, and this one's no exception. You also get to hear Robinson utter his famous catchphrase a few times, although it's not quite as exaggerated as it is in parodies and when people do impressions. Ah, wise guy, huh? It's terrible. Key Largo was based on the play by Maxwell Anderson, who's best known for writing the play The Bad Seed. The adaptation was a collaboration between director John Huston and screenwriter Richard Brooks, who himself became an envelope-pushing director in later years. He adapted and directed Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Elmer Gantry, In Cold Blood, among other titles. By the way, John Huston directed Humphrey Bogart in 6 films, including some of Bogart's most iconic work in The Maltese Falcon, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and The African Queen. And yes, I know the story about Huston and Bogart being the only ones in the entire production who didn't get dysentery because instead of drinking the local water, they just drank booze through the whole shoot. As the proud, feisty hotel owner, Lionel Barrymore gives a solid performance. No surprise there, he was always good. Becoming wheelchair-dependent due to hip injuries and arthritis could have ended his career in motion pictures, but instead it flourished. I think he became even bigger in the 40s than he had been in the 20s and 30s. His disability is smoothly incorporated into this story, as he fiercely tries to overcome his physical state to take Rocco down himself. The film has some interesting comments on cowardice and bravery. Both he and his daughter-in-law attempt to attack Rocco, and she has fleeting success, though I confess I'm always bewildered by the robotic way Bacall starts pummeling him. It just looks odd. Bogart's former army major, however, chooses not to take Rocco out when he has the chance. He's shamed for it, but he insists, "I fight nobody's battles but my own." Which sounds an awful lot like I stick my neck out for nobody. Rick Blaine, is that you? Each of the members of Rocco's crew is interesting. Fast-talking, pseudo-friendly Curly, who always seems like he's trying to convince you of something, Toots the smart aleck, silent and surly Angel, and Ralph, who has some funny ideas about what happens in a hurricane. The film's scene stealer, though, is Claire Trevor, who won an Academy Award for her performance as Miss Gay Dawn, the fated gangster's moll. Rocco lets us know that this Gay Dawn is a far cry from the wildcat she used to be. She's an alcoholic, desperate for a drink and desperate for Johnny's attention and his approval, but also terrified of him. Another standout moment in the movie is the one where Rocco agrees to let her have a drink if she sings her signature song. With the rest of the group looking on, she hesitantly croons the mournful torch song Moanin' Low. And I believe the level of discomfort you feel watching this scene is multiplied by the number of people you're watching it with. If you're by yourself, it's okay, it's not too bad. If you're with several other people, it's difficult. Rocco does a lot of ugly, nasty things, but I feel this prolonged humiliation is one of the worst. Key Largo could be considered a series of escalating confrontations, and I don't want to say too much about what happens in the movie, since part of what makes certain events so effective and so potent is the surprise factor. The mood in the hotel is oppressive. What with Rocco's cruel, volatile temper and massive ego, the owner's tenacity and boldness, his daughter-in-law's quiet ferocity, and the Major's simmering sense of injustice, things are likely to explode any second, and you're just waiting for the kaboom. And then there's the tempest outside. As the storm begins to rage, the hotel's inmates become even more testy, especially the gangsters who are city folk from up north who don't know anything about hurricanes. As the wind howls and the building shakes, they're unnerved. This hotel was supposed to be their hideout, but it might actually be a death trap. It's a great film. While it's not one I choose to revisit often, I always appreciate it when I do see it, and if you'll forgive the pun, it's a perfect storm of strong performances, expert direction, and sharp writing, with an unforgettable setting. It's definitely one to see if you've never caught it before. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of this film if you've seen it in the comments below. I want to wish all of you a happy Easter, and I'll be back next weekend with another review. Thanks for watching.